Hello, everyone. Today, you will hear an interesting story. Inger and I have been married for 25 years. And today, we celebrated our silver wedding anniversary. My wife loves to be the center of attention. It doesn't matter where. At a New Year's Eve party, at a restaurant party, just as a guest. Apparently, she honestly thought the whole world should revolve around her. Today was her benefit. We greeted the guests at the door, and the lion's share of congratulations went to India. With the grace of a socialite, she accepted congratulations and friendly kisses. I was standing right behind her, and for a moment, it seemed to me that this was the least of my concerns. "Inger, you are adorable." There was a nasal voice. And her boss Victim put his hand on my wife's arm. But that was not enough, and he also kissed her on the cheek. I never liked that guy. Something rotten shone through his super fancy suit. When he finally let go of my wife, he nodded coldly at me and made his way into the hall. My already bad mood quickly turned into a terrible one. "Inga, couldn't you do without that jerk?" I grudgingly looked at my wife. "Euroa, do not spoil my evening." She wrinkled her pretty face. "You probably forgot that it's my night too," I said through gritted teeth, greeting the next guest. In general, the evening was completely ruined for me. The banquet began. The guests made toasts. I firmly endured these burdens, dreaming of hurrying to get away from this feast of life. Then the dancing began. My wife wouldn't leave her boss's side. She chirped something in his ear, and he stroked her back affectionately. To the unsophisticated onlooker, it might have seemed that it was their silver wedding day, not mine. "And you put up with it?" My little brother's voice boomed out from behind me. I shrugged. "It's up to Inger here. Bitch doesn't want to. Cable won't jump up." I thought that lewd proverb was the most appropriate. What do I have to punch him in the face? I don't care if I have to punch him in the face. Dima was determined. "Dima, at least you do not strain." I patted my brother on the shoulder and went to the table. There was a buzz in the hall. The guests began to talk louder, jokes and laughter erupted. The party was drawing to a close. Lasinga took the floor. She talked at length about her work and thanked the grinning boss standing beside her several times. But I almost didn't hear her speak. My gaze was fixed on the mirror-covered wall behind my wife. There it was clearly visible as Victor was self-indulgently squeezing her ass. And Inger made no attempt to remove his hand. This was too much. I got up silently from the table and in front of everyone, walked through the hall and out into the foyer. I didn't look back once when I stepped outside. My phone was off before I even got to my car. I started the engine, turned around, and drove out onto the night highway. I still had some things to do at home. I quickly packed my bag, left my wedding ring on the kitchen table and slammed the front door. The house had belonged to my wife before we were married, so there was no point in arguing for it. True, I had practically rebuilt it over a quarter of a century, but that meant nothing in our feminist courts. I drove west on the Republican Highway and soon checked into a motel not far out of town. The next day was Saturday, but I drove to work. I couldn't be alone with my thoughts. I had no doubts that my wife and her boss were having an affair. The only question was, how long would it last? I ordered the guard not to let Inger in under any circumstances. The last thing I wanted to hear today was her squeaky voice. The day's work was coming to an end when Inger's car pulled into the parking lot in front of my office. There was nothing to do. A meeting was inevitable. Inger was waiting for me leaning against the front door of my car. "Cut the crap, Euro. You're acting like a pimply kid. Here, put your wedding ring back on." She held out my open palm, which contained my engagement ring. "Thank you for your concern, dear. You can keep the ring." I opened the door of my car. You're just ridiculous. Enough already. Inger came right up to me. Fuck you and better go back to your idiot chief. I'm done with you. I gently moved his wife and got into the car because of what? Because I was paying attention to our guests. Inger began to boil over. If you want to believe it, it is I turned the ignition key. I don't understand what's going on here. Inga was ready to cry. You don't understand, but letting yourself be squeezed in front of everyone. Making out on the dance floor, my anger began to rise to his head. Now I understand why I left you. Now get the fuck out of my way. You can't. Yes. I can. I had a wife who decided to put me down at our silver wedding, making fun of me with some jerk. If I had a wife who loved me, she'd punch her chief in the cheeky smirking face and kick him out. I slammed the door. Inga looked at me in silence. I drove away. After extending my motel room for a week, I ate dinner at a small cafe. I watched a little TV and went to bed. Sunday passed me by without a trace. On Monday, India's approach changed. Under the wipers on the windshield of my car was a note. My love. Forgive me. I was wrong, but I'm clean before you. Please come home. I love you. Binga. Tuesday after work, the unforgettable Victor was waiting for me in the parking lot. Dude, you got it all wrong. You can't be that impressionable. With a smug grin, he tried to grab my shoulder. You do realize that a beautiful woman can't belong to just one. I stepped aside and sent him away. You miserable asshole. I have slept and will continue to sleep with your wife. And you cuckold, you'll carry me beer. He shouted the last phrase in the wake of my car as it drove away. I had to prove it. My suspicions were confirmed. I wish I had recorded it. On Wednesday, Inga showed up again. Darling, please come home. In this outfit, you look like you're going to the panel. Angrily, I said. Binga grumbled. Do not be rude. I dressed like this for you. I do not think so. Your boss now shares you with others. Do you know that he bragged that he fucked you? Is lying. I've been faithful to you. I doubt it. I don't know you anymore. I don't like you anymore. If you add it all up, I don't love you anymore. It was a 25-year-old mistake. I pulled out a pack of cigarettes, my hands shaking. Don't say that. I love you. Tears spurted from Inga's eyes. I could die for you. Think of our children. What will happen to them? Inger pressed her palms to her face and sobbed. Part of me wanted to hold her. Subconsciously, I still loved her. A quarter of a century hadn't gone by in vain. I need time, Inga. I'll stay at the motel, get my nerves straightened out. Then we'll work it out. Tears were streaming down in this cheek. Please come home. I love you. I love you too, Inga. But I need to calm down. Please don't seek comfort from anyone else. You don't need revenge because I've always been faithful to you. I love you. Good night. I love you too, Inga. Be careful on the road. I walked down the colorful, oriental carpeted corridor of the Plaza Hotel, located in an upscale neighborhood of the city. Well done. Great choice, I said to myself and knocked on the door. I waited. Number 1 answered. I knocked again. Finally, I heard some movement on the other side of the door. The door was opened by a tall, imposing man in a bathrobe with still wet hair. The surprised smile on his face was replaced by a contemptuous sneer. We hadn't said anything to each other yet when I heard the familiar voice. I don't know if you're ready for this. Love her, but we can do it again right now. Over his shoulder, I saw Ringer come out into the hallway, wrapped in just A towel. I hit him, and her boss slowly slumped to the marble floor without realizing it. A small trickle of blood ran from his mouth. It looked like I had knocked out some of his teeth. I entered the room with nothing but contempt for the woman in front of me. Inga clung to the towel like a life preserver, covering her mouth with her other hand. "What a lying bitch you are. To think I imagined we had a chance to make things right. I didn't lie to you. I didn't lie to you." Inger was choking back tears. "It didn't mean anything. We were just helping each other. I didn't lie to you. I just didn't tell you the whole truth, so I wouldn't hurt you." She looked at me in horror. I spat under her feet. What else could I say? Behind me, the chief hissed. I put my foot in his crotch to solidify the subject. "No. Euro. Please. No. Euro. Euro." Inga wasn't screaming anymore. He was howling. I silently slammed the door. Dear listeners, your support is very important to us. If you like our story, please like, comment and subscribe. It's very motivating for us.